Welcome into the first episode of Mullet Man and the Canadan, everything you need for fantasy football in 2022. I am the Mullet Man, Jeremy Greene of ESPN Radio, and my Canadan friend, David Smith of Armchair Commentary. What's going on, Mr. Smith?
You know, I'm just happy to be back talking about football. Isn't it?
It's just beautiful. Football? Well, it was just beautiful. I feel like I've been talking about the NBA for, 9 years. I think the NBA season actually started in 2012, and we're just now getting to a point where it might end sometime within the next month.
Maybe. I don't hold your breath. What I do know, though, is that football never goes away, and that's what we're here for. Talking football, talking the best. Let's be honest. It's the best sport.
Oh, I don't care what unequivocally. And we will be here for all the things that you could possibly need. We'll be doing mock drafts, fantasy leagues. If it can be done in fantasy football, we will provide it for you right here. Now, today we're going to get into two positions that really split this industry. Quarterbacks and my favorite position, the tight end. I am not a heavy quarterback guy. I have long said that if you're playing in a league with sharp, intelligent people, you really don't have to reach for a quarterback early. Armchair, when is the earliest you can take a quarterback and like the way your team lays out?
Okay, realistically, if you're playing with smart, intelligent people, because this all goes off the rail the second you have Johnny Jabroni who drafts the kicker in the third round.
Oh, yeah, one dum-dum and it throws all this into pandalarium.
Late second round at the earliest, and that's only if you're going for top flight premier quarterback picks, and that would typically mean that you're probably at the front end of the snake draft. So if you're picking in the top 5, if it's a snake draft, you're looking end of round 2, maybe early round 3 for your starting point for quarterbacks. And honestly, you can find a lot more value if you play it smart and wait.
And that's what I find myself doing. Somehow every year my strategy involves a safe quarterback that I know I can play. Am I ever going to feel great about it? No, probably not. But a top 15 quarterback. And then the risky guy that if it works out, I'm a genius and I'm set at quarterback. If it doesn't, well, then I'm playing Derek Carr. And this year, that guy for me is Deshaun Watson.
Interesting. Deshaun is a quarterback who can obviously tons of talent, like talent for days. And if the off-field issues don't creep up, then he's going to be I think he's probably going to be someone that is forgotten about in a lot of leagues because he hasn't played. People aren't thinking about the Texans for quarterbacks from past years, and last year and this year they're not going to be thinking about Cleveland. Everybody's going to be talking about what's going to happen with that. If you're asking me where I'm looking for value in this quarterback heavy season, I might go Derek Carr actually.
My favorite stack is Deshaun Watson and Derek Carr. Let me ask you a question. I want to see how close you get on this. Deshaun Watson has played 2 full-on seasons with no kerfuffles, injuries, suspensions, whatever the case may be. What is the worst he has ever finished in quarterback rankings in those 2 years?
Probably QB 8.
5.
10. Yeah.
He was 4 in 2018. He was 5 in 2019. And I'm looking at him now. Universally, the rankings across the industry, he falls somewhere between 13 and 16. Depends on how you feel about Trey Lance. We'll get into him later in this here program. But I'm looking at Deshaun Watson. My fear is the dum-dum that we talked about. My fear is the dum-dum that's going to take him ahead of Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson. That guy completely throws my strategy into hell. My hope is that I can get him in the middle of the meaty clacker version of quarterback, which starts with Tom Brady and ends with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. So if you're targeting Watson, my personal strategy would be to grab Carr beforehand. Although depending on who you're playing with, there are certain sects of people that really hate the Raiders, like really just unequivocally hate the Raiders, and just can't get behind Derek Carr. And I understand that. If you're not picking in that, top 4 Allen, Mahomes, Jackson kind of deal, if you're not going for a Burrow and you want a guy like Derek Carr, that's a place to go. Another guy I'm looking at, honestly, who, if you're looking for late round value, is Matty Ice.
I feel like Matt Ryan's just the quarterback that died in everyone's head about 2 years ago, and now nothing he does is – look, you're never going to feel great about Matt Ryan. In a foot race, he would lose to me.
Sure.
But with Michael Pittman, I feel okay with Matt Ryan. I don't necessarily want him to be my quarterback with the Deshaun Watson thing. I would rather go Matt Ryan with, I don't know, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, have him as my 2. That I'm okay with. And I think he would be a very good 2 ahead of Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones. I'm also not averse to a 0 quarterback strategy. If you're in a league where the dum-dums come out of the woodwork, I'm not averse to a 0 quarterback strategy.
And what would you like when you target a 0 quarterback? What are you looking at? I don't want to get too deep into it, because I know we've got other plans coming out. But if you're going 0 quarterback, are you just hoping that everybody is in full panic mode, grabbing 2, and then after their 2, they're like, well, maybe I'll get a 3rd and stack my bench? Or
well, the way that I know I'm going to go 0 quarterback is if I get to and I'm looking at ADP right now on Fantasy Pros. If we get to the end of the 4th round and 4 quarterbacks have gone off the board, I'm going 0 quarterback, because I'm not. I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm not taking one before the 4th round under any circumstances. Josh Allen's currently going to the back end of the 2nd. No shot. No way I come anywhere close to that. He falls into the turn of 3. Beginning of 4, now I'm getting more comfortable. Justin Herbert, no way I'm taking him in the 3rd round. Pat Mahomes, same thing. The answer to the original question I asked, for me, first place I can feel really solid about taking a quarterback is any of the guys I just said, or Lamar Jackson at the back end of the 4th, beginning of the 5th. That's the earliest I'm doing it. And if I don't know if you do this. Do you keep tabs on runs in fantasy drafts?
I watch out for them. My drafting strategy as a general rule is ignore the runs and stick to your plan. Unless it's like look, there's always a draft. You're always going to be, if you're like you or myself, where you're in multiple leagues and different kinds of leagues. There's going to come a point where there's a run on running backs, and you're just going to need to bite the bullet and shift. But I feel like when I make my draft strategy, it's a choose your own adventure. Do you remember those books when you were a kid? Choose your own adventure.
I remember the Goosebump books where you could choose the ending.
So I'll start off by saying, all right, so I'll pick a running back first, and then maybe I'll get completely boo-boo kittied out of that. Someone will pick something, it'll go way off base. Well, now I got to go with adventure B, which is maybe I'm going Travis Kelce, or maybe I'm going on the tight end side of things. But if there's a run happening, I definitely keep my eye on it. If it's really early on, I'm probably going to ignore it. I'll be honest with you. I'll just stick with my guns.
So I keep track of positional value the same way I would count cards playing blackjack. And we'll do a video on this later as we get closer to actual drafts. I literally put quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, 4 columns. And every time one of them goes, I'll make a tally mark. Quarterback and tight end are on the outside. Running back, receiver in the middle. If either of the two on the outside, I start seeing a drastic shift where there have just been a ridiculous number of running backs compared to receivers, I start heaping receivers. Quarterback and tight end, if I start seeing that a lot of those have gone, I'll exit out, and I'm not touching one until late. I will wait until the last player that I feel great about goes, and that's where I'll start targeting them. And I will tell you and then I'm going to draft 3. I will wind up with 3 quarterbacks, and I'll play the matchups every week. And this year, the 3 that I'm looking at in that regard are Jameis Winston, Trevor Lawrence, and Zach Wilson. I feel like I can play them. I feel like I can play the matchups with those 3 guys, and I'm going to have a top 12 quarterback every week. And I know I've heard the thing about Jameis is limping, and we do this every year because we don't have anything else to talk about. He doesn't have to play a game for 3 solid months. I think he'll be fine.
There are 2 things you can set your clock to every single OTA season. Someone is limping or hurt, and the sky is falling, and they're in the best shape of their life.
Oh, yeah, Zach Wilson's the one that's in the best shape of his life.
Yeah. Mac Jones is in the best shape of his life. Doesn't matter that he can't throw 35 yards, but he's in the best shape of his life.
So,
yeah.
So that's a strategy, and we'll get into that. We'll get into strategies and videos a few weeks from now.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm looking at. What is your top 5 among quarterbacks?
So probably not much surprise here. I've got Josh Allen. I still have Patrick Mahomes because I can't not have Mahomes in the top 5 in my mind. I've got Herbert because although, and I'm going to say this with like a bit of caution, that defense is unreal.
It is.
And
he may not have to throw to the same level that you've seen him do it before.
Typically, you're seeing that he's had to come back and play the shootout game, and I just don't know if you're going to see that. So just to all the Charger like lovers out there, when you're drafting for fantasy, just be leery of that. Keep your eye on it. Lamar Jackson at 4 and Burrow at 5, with a special shout out to Jalen Hurts, who's going to have an incredible season this year.
I have the exact same thing you just did, except I flipped Burrow and Herbert. I have Burrow 3 and Herbert 5, which is what tells me I will have Justin Herbert in exactly 0 leagues. I will have myself in the same number of leagues that I have Justin Herbert. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Because like you said, I do think the defense is so much better that you're not necessarily going to see the shootouts. It is what makes me like Austin Eckler better this year than I have in years past. I'm very high on Lamar Jackson. I had him as my number 2 team in the league. And I'm cautious with Lamar for the same thing you just said with Herbert. I am not sure he is going to be asked to do as much as he has in years past, because that Baltimore defense is disgustingly good.
It's a really good team. And when you're looking at fantasy, obviously a couple of factors that you want to take into mind are opportunity. And if this quarterback, if Lamar Jackson's your quarterback, you can feel good that you've gotten him, but don't reach. If he falls to you, great, but don't reach, because that defense is real good.
Quarterback is, for me, quarterback and tight end, it's one similarity between these 2 positions, is a lot like your dingus in a movie theater. If you reach for it, you're probably going to end up in bad shape.
Oh, my mistake.
All right, you're 6 through 10.
Jalen Hurts at 6. I really struggled with my number 7. It's Kyler Murray. And the only reason I have him up there is because they still get out and they get in so many damn shootouts. They're always in shootouts. He's always coming from behind. Plus, he's got rushing touchdown potential. I've got Stafford at 8 because I don't think he's going to regress way beyond anything crazy. Thomas J. Brady, until he proves me otherwise, is going to be in the top 10. He's number 9. Although this could be how many years have you been saying this could be the year that Brady regresses?
Well, I mean, he's almost to AARP membership. So, I mean, at some point, it's going to end bad.
Yes. I've got him at 9, and then I've got Derek Carr at 10 because I think that Raiders team is a lot better than people will give him credit for. New weapon, and you can't cover everybody. Hunter Renfrow was already really good. Darren Waller, if he stays on the field, also really good. And now you've added Devontae Adams, and I just don't see how you can't at least give Carr a bit of flowers here.
We're very similar in that there's two names that you didn't say, and I'll flash my top 10 up on the screen here because it's virtually the same names, except the ones that I'm going to ask you about here. Two names I noticed you didn't say. Dak Prescott.
Yep. Dallas scares me. Dak is so I have Dak at 11. Dallas, what did Dallas do to get better at offense?
I look at the entire team and name me the position group that got better for the Dallas Cowboys.
They didn't.
That's the thing. This offense was weird. It was weird and clunky, and there would be games. They had a couple games where they ran the ball really well, a couple games where Dak just completely went off, and then there was a lot of, it's fine. Nothing to write home about. I did not expect you to not have Dak Prescott in the top 10, but I will tell you, I didn't either.
I just can't. I can't do it. I'm giving him the respect of he's an NFL quality starter. He's a top 15 QB in the league. This isn't trying to throw shade at Cowboys fans, but you didn't improve your receiving core. You didn't improve the offensive line. You didn't improve your coaching staff. You didn't improve anything that needed improvement to make me want to say that Dak is going to have a breakout year. So at best, you got worse on the wide receiver weapons. And I just don't see how you can put that any higher than 11.
Another name you didn't say, and this one I'm going to need you to explain to me, Aaron Rodgers.
He lost. Okay, so Aaron loses his number one weapon. And I understand that Aaron is still Aaron Rodgers. However, I think that this offense turns to a punch you in the mouth, north grind him out kind of offense where Rodgers is still going to get touchdowns and he's still going to play fine. He's still top 15. I have him 14. Do you want to guess the two guys I have in front of him? Because Dak is 11.
I am going to say Russell Wilson is one of them.
He is. It's going to surprise you. I know it is.
Is it Trey Lance?
It's not. It's Kirk Cousins.
I don't hate that. I look at the Minnesota offense. They're going to be able to score points. It's just a question of how. And I think there could be some instability because they have good Dalvin Cook games that take away from Kirk Cousins, excuse me.
Sure. That's completely justified. My big thing with Cousins is he's 33 and in a contract year. He was given a prove-it deal, and you better believe we're going to get some of that how you like me now kind of swagger out of Cousins. Because if Cousins wants to get paid and keep in this league, and it's likely not with Minnesota next season, or I think they would have re-upped him more depending on the success. Who knows? I think Cousins going to ball out. I think he has to ball out. I don't think this is like, I would like to play really well, which is basically what Aaron Rodgers says every year. Russell Wilson's got some great weapons. I think they're both good. Cousins has to play well. And name me the last time that the Vikings had this much of an opportunity to take their division.
Oh, I've said I think Minnesota is closer to Green Bay. I think Cousins will have great games.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. Since 2012, how many seasons has Aaron Rodgers played more than 9 games and not finished in the top 10 among quarterbacks?
He probably hasn't.
Would you like to hear the list again?
Yeah.
Because it's never happened.
I get that. Devontae Adams, a lot of that offense.
And I don't dispute that. I'm just look. I liked, and I'm the draft nerd, so maybe I'm overvaluing these young receivers. I really liked Christian Watson. They're going to have to manufacture the touches early because he doesn't really run a great route tree. Samori Toure, a kid out of Nebraska that was really popular in the draft process, and Romeo Doubs. The thing is that none of them are finished products, but I don't think they have to be. Look how many Alan Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Randall Cobb, Robert Tonyan, guys that couldn't play dead in a Western, that Aaron Rodgers turned into legitimate weapons. He's never had great weapons. And I could argue this is one of the more talented groups he's ever had from 1 to 6. No, he doesn't have the 1.
Yeah.
But it's pretty deep.
It's the one guy that I really struggled with where I was going to fully put him. And could I have swapped him? Sure, I could have put him in. I mean, I could have. I think that the schedule, I think that the weapons, and I think that the way they're going to run that offense is going to be a lot more Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon heavy, with Rodgers dinking and dunking around, and then the defense being counted on to kind of carry them. I still like Tunyon. I still think he's a great player. But yeah, I couldn't do it. I have Matt Ryan right behind him. So
understandable. So we've talked about the top 10. Is there I like to call these herpes players. Guys that you were just trying to avoid at all cost. It's a bad decision. You know it's a bad decision. This is the girl at the bar that's going to put cigarettes out on your couch.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Is there a guy you are avoiding like grim death?
There's three. Drew Lock? No. No.
How deep of a league would you have to be in to draft Drew Lock or Geno Smith?
32 team, 2 quarterbacks.
I'm roughly there with you. I would take Sam Darnold ahead of both of them. I would take Malik Willis ahead of both of them.
Yeah. I'm not really feeling the Trevor Lawrence thing right now. And that's not his fault. It's not his fault. Sorry, Jacksonville, it's not your fault. That I can't. He's a rookie last year and got no help. And this year they brought in Christian Kirk,
which will help over the top.
But I just don't. I don't see too much that I would touch. And then Daniel Jones, even though Daniel Jones is arguably in a bigger prove-it deal than Cousins and much younger in his career. He just has I would draft Daniel Jones if he was the last quarterback available. But yeah, that's not it. I can't wait for you to say Mac Jones is who you would draft because I know it.
You know me far too well. According to Fantasy Pros, there are 2 quarterbacks that have 5-star A+ schedules. You care to take a guess who they are?
It's Trevor Lawrence has one of them. And
what was the last name you just said?
Daniel Jones, the Giants. Yeah,
that's right.
Yep.
If I'm going 0 quarterback, I could do worse than going Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, and then a safe guy.
Yeah.
A Kirk Cousins, a Ryan Tannehill, Matt Ryan, who we talked about earlier. I could do worse than that. Trevor Lawrence is actually on my guy I'm targeting list. I love the way my roster looks when Trevor Lawrence is my second quarterback. Love it. I mean, absolutely, unequivocally love it. And my favorite quarterback to pair him with is Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I like that.
I love the pairing because the weeks that the weeks that I really would be targeting Trevor Lawrence, where I think he's going to have big weeks, those are the ones where I look at Joe Burrow and go, oh, you may not have the greatest week this week.
Yeah. I for what it's worth, I also wouldn't draft Matt.
It's my team. It's my quarterback.
I have Daniel Jones in a dynasty league, so I'm fully aware of his capability. Mac Jones is a fine second quarterback if you're in a pinch, but I wouldn't count on him to put up a whole heck of a lot. My targeted guy's Jalen Hurts. That's who I'm after, and I'd be okay pairing him with someone like, I don't know, Trey Lance.
What is your thought on Trey Lance? There's been a lot of dissension about Trey Lance, and I'm not sure I understand it.
So I have Trey Lance at 20 on my quarterback rankings, largely because he's unproven. However,
in fairness, every quarterback is unproven until they're proven. And
that is not incorrect, but we're making lists. that's what you get. When you give me nothing to work with or little to work with, I can only put you so far. I have him higher than McCorkle. I have him higher than Ryan Tannehill and Mitch and Sam. I have him just behind Justin Fields. I think that he is supremely talented, but like every year with fantasy, I am terrified of 49ers not named Debo.
So interesting that your take on Trey Lance. Last year, he played 2 games where he was the guy.
Yes.
He was sprinkled in a couple other games. He was 1 of 1 throwing the ball in the other. Oh, he actually had 3 games. I'm sorry. In those 3 games, he scored 15.5, 20.5, and 20.
Yeah.
If you're a math savant, that tells you that he averaged right around 18-ish points per game.
Yeah.
Do you know where that would have put him among quarterbacks last year? By the way, he never had a really elite game.
Probably top 15.
It'd have been top 10.
Yeah.
It'd have been right behind Matthew Stafford. I love Trey Lance. The only thing about Trey Lance is I got to have a safe quarterback with him because the Jimmy Garoppolo thing still makes me nervous.
Absolutely. And it should.
Because there is a path where they can't find the deal for Garoppolo. And then you get this weird, uncomfortable relationship where they look at this team and go, this team is good enough to win a Super Bowl, and we're not going to trust this to a second-year quarterback that's thrown 71 passes in his life. If I knew definitively Trey Lance was going to be the starter, and I'm 90% sure he will be, I would have him as a top 12 quarterback.
I am not opposed to that. If you don't trade Jimmy, realistically, you need to play Jimmy to up his value so that you can move on from Jimmy for a quarterback desperate team. Or, I mean, there's 2 ways they can play this. They can keep Jimmy on the bench and just say he is what he is. And when Carson Wentz goes down or, someone goes down and they want to fill in, Jimmy's the guy. Or they play him and they try to get some value for him and see if they can parlay that into something reasonable. Trey Lance is going to be good. He's going to be good for fantasy football. I think he's a lot closer to Jalen Hurts than he is to Lamar Jackson.
And I would agree with that. I think he's Jalen Hurts on steroids. The only problem is that now I've got to deal with the rookie bumps, even though he's not really a rookie. He's an NFL gameplay rookie. And I have to deal with that, and I don't want that to be my only option. Now, there was a name you said in there that, and this will be the last quarterback we talk about before we move into tight ends.
Sure.
Justin Fields.
God. Tell me the last Bears quarterback to throw for more than 4,000 yards.
It's never happened.
That's right. Justin Fields inspire that for you?
No.
I have Justin Fields at 19 because.
But and here's my question, and I have to ask this question: why? Why do you have Justin Fields at 19? This thing I knew we were going to disagree on because I disagree on Justin Fields with every person I talk to.
He's going to run the ball in.
Is he though?
Yeah.
Is he? All right. So
I will say that he will run the ball in more often than he throws the ball in.
Do you know how many rushing touchdowns he had last year? He played in 11 games where he threw the ball more than twice. How many rushing touchdowns did he have?
2.
2 is exactly right. How many games did he have where he rushed the ball more than 7 times?
7.
5. And he never broke 10. If you take away a 74-yard game against the Green Bay Packers and a 103-yard game against the San Francisco 49ers, he's basically Jameis Winston. This thought that he just runs all the time, it's just not true. And now, is it possible that this system changes and maybe he runs more? Is there a range of possibilities where that happens? Absolutely. Do you actually think that's going to happen?
I think that the Bears can't figure out what to do at quarterback since Jim McMahon,
Which is true.
Who's a great follow on Twitter, by the way. And I don't have any confidence in their offense other than giving Fields the benefit of he's athletic. And if they ever put him in a position to learn quarterbacking, you and I talked about this when he was still in college, and I watched him run headstrong into a defensive back.
Oh, yeah.
And he got hurt. And I said, he doesn't have all that much thinking. He's not using the old head muscle there.
He doesn't use he needs to recharge those old brain batteries.
We got to recharge your brave batteries.
I think if he is coached properly and they use his athleticism properly, then he can be a top 20 fantasy quarterback. If they don't, I think that you would be better off drafting Davis Mills and rolling the dice.
How much more athletic do you think Justin Fields is than Aaron Rodgers?
That's really hard to. I think he is.
Is he two times as athletic? 2 times as likely to run the ball as Aaron Rodgers?
I would say that's probably fair.
How many rushing attempts did Aaron Rodgers have last year with Luke Getsy?
Oh,
and now, granted, he's a guy that notoriously takes care of himself, and I get that. It's not an apples to apples comparison. I'm just looking at the two offenses.
It probably wasn't a ton.
33.
I can't even. Yeah,
33.
He didn't run a ton.
So to me, the running upside with Justin Fields is just not as high. Plus, the line sucks, and the receivers suck worse.
The receivers are bad.
There is no path that I would take Justin Fields in a fantasy draft. None. You name any quarterback short of Drew Lock. I would rather have Jared Goff. I would rather have Marcus Mariota. I would rather have Desmond Ridder. Just because the range of outcomes is higher for all of them.
Justin Fields has a bit of a nice schedule. It's the only.
Oh, the schedule's fine. The schedule's fine. The only problem is he's playing with 11 dudes. It looks like he picked him up at Walmart.
Listen, just because he has CVS as his offense doesn't mean that he's doing bad things. Okay.
I don't get it with Fields. I've seen his name in the top 20 of virtually every quarterback ranking I've seen, and I just don't get it. I said that would be the last. I said that'd be the last quarterback we talked about, but I lied. One more before we move on. Tua Tagovailoa. 30 seconds in a nutshell.
Miami's doing Miami things. He's probably got more upside than he's ever had and more potential, but he's top 20. He's a top 20 quarterback.
He's not for me.
Is he gonna do it? I don't know.
He's not a top 25 quarterback for me.
I don't love it. I don't love it. I've never loved the pick, though. I watched him play a couple of games, and I don't love it.
He's one of those players that I just feel like is going to be overdrafted compared to where I would take him. And if you had to bet your own U.S. doll hairs on this, what would the line have to be for you to feel comfortable betting Teddy Bridgewater throws more passes this year than Tua Tagovailoa?
I'd feel more comfortable. I'd just take Teddy anyway.
And I would too. To me, Tua Tagovailoa strikes me as the quarterback pick that you will look back on and go, well, that's where my team fell to duty water, because I took Tua Tagovailoa, who right now average draft position on him is right around 115. He's going ahead of Derek Carr. He's going ahead of Trevor Lawrence. Drastically ahead of Ryan Tannehill and other guys that I like. And I just, for posterity's sake, the receiver that you could get in that range is Christian Kirk or Chris Olave or Michael Gallup. There's just no path to me that I look at a team where I took Tua and feel good about it.
I don't like Tua. Their schedule is hard.
The schedule's brutal, too.
The AFC East, regardless of your thought on my Patriots, is not going to be fun. They're going to be played tough by the Patriots. Buffalo's going to dog walk them. And the Jets got significantly better on defense where they were getting killed last year. So I just don't see how Miami takes a huge step forward with Tua at quarterback.
There's not a bad defense in that division, and there's not many bad defenses on that schedule, no matter what team it is that you're pulling for. I mean, we're two AFC East fans. I'm a Jets fan. You're a New England Patriots fan. I'm just looking at Tua going, there is no range of outcomes where I'm going to feel good about that, so I'm going to avoid that. We are Mullet Man. We're Mullet Man and the Canadan talking fantasy football, all the things you need to get all the doubloons in your fantasy leagues this year. Just talked about quarterbacks. Now moving on to my specialty position. They don't call me the tight end whisperer for nothing. Tight ends.
How is your tight end? Was good.
Well, it's I got a salve. It's a little tighter than it was. I've avoided Deshaun Watson, so no booking massage appointments on Instagram. Your tight end one this year is
Travis Kelce.
I don't agree with you. I had a feeling that's what you were going to say, and I don't agree with you. He's my two. He is my two.
Did you go Mark Andrews?
I did. I love Mark Andrews. I can't get away from it. It seems like every time I do a mock draft and I take Mark Andrews, I like my team better than any other tight end. And ADP on him is broken. Fantasy Pros has his ADP right now at 20. That's bullshit. I've gotten him in the 30s more than once. I got him at the turn, at the 4-5 turn.
Yeah. Mark Andrews is going to get plenty of play. He's going to be plenty targeted. He's also, one of Lamar Jackson's favorite targets. That offense is going to be a lot different this year. I'm really interested to see how it plays out, given they were basically corpses last year, and Andrews still had a heck of a season. The only reason I gave Kelce my one is because they didn't really account for the leaving of Tyreek. I know Sky Moore, great,
yay,
good, but it doesn't make me change my drafting strategy for now. Kelce is still going to get elite target share on that offense, because who else got CEH? Is that who we're
oh God, stop that. Stop that.
So yeah, Mark Andrews, Mark Andrews, Kelce, either of those two, you're in, I think, really good shape tight end. Although I'm going to be honest, I don't have Andrews as my two.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, now I'm curious. Who is your two?
Kittle's my two.
I don't hate that. I mean, look, there were 3 tight ends in the league last year that averaged 14.5 points a game or more. It's the 3 that we've already talked about. And I would argue they're all 3 in better positions to score more this year than they did last year.
Rookie quarterbacks need safety blankets.
Rookie quarterbacks love tight ends.
And the tight end is the biggest guy on the field usually to see. Wide receivers get real small. The field's really big. They run fast. They get out of the way. Tight end is usually just hanging out there with a derp on his face, ready to catch the ball. And Kittle is that guy with his little half mohawk thing going on. I don't know what kind of hair he's going to have this year. Who knows? They've got a great
He's got
schedule.
a man bun. He is a mulleted man. He doesn't get the attention for being a mulleted man.
Yeah.
But he is.
They've got a great schedule. Plus now we can add mulleted man to the repertoire.
Mulleted man, that should have boosted him 2 spots just on the mullet alone.
I think we need to make sure that we do a mulleted man's pick of the day going forward.
Oh, and we're 100% going to draft a mulleted team. There's no doubt about that.
Kittle's my two. And
I want to draft an all mullet team. Just every player on my team has some form of mullet. And some of them can be cousins of mullets, which is what Trevor Lawrence has.
Would Steve Belichick be the coach of that team?
Absolutely. Just with his num 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 little just weird tongue wagging self.
Yeah.
The only thing that scares me about Kittle, injury.
Made of glass.
In the last 3 years, he's played 14 games, 8 games, 14. That makes me nervous. The thing is that even in those years, he has still found a way to be a high-end tight end option. Last year he played 13 games. You want to take a guess where he finished in tight end scoring? 3. Missed 4 full games. Still finished 3.
Yeah.
Now the year before that he played half the games. Half. He was still 19th.
He has a way of doing that. There's a few reliable options in San Francisco's offense, and Kittle is one of them. And they know how to use them.
And Debo does not make me nervous.
No.
Debo doesn't make me nervous. So we have the same top 3. I have a funny feeling 4 is where we're going to where there might be a fork in the road.
Yeah, I have Darren Waller.
Damn, there is no fork in the road. I agree with you. The sheer fact that I see people on a regular basis putting Kyle Pitts ahead of Darren Waller is the most laughably stupid thing I think I've ever seen. But the schedule's hard. But Devontae Adams. And your point is what exactly?
I don't even have Pitts next.
I don't either. I don't have Pitts in my top 6.
I do, but we'll get to it, I'm sure. Darren Waller, to me, if not for the injuries last year, if not for losing your top weapon to crimes, don't do crimes.
Don't do crimes.
If not for a coaching calamity and ownership missteps, I think that this team had a lot of external influence that was really hard for them to tune out. And I'm not making excuses for them. They're all pros. Everyone's human. Everybody has bad days. I'm sure Waller would have loved to have been more productive, less hurt. I still think he's tight end 1 talent. Like he should be the number 1 tight end talent in the league, but he's never played enough to do it. So I put him there. I don't know how you can ignore him. If I have an opportunity to draft Waller, I will take Waller if one of the other 3 names we haven't mentioned has been taken yet.
Same question I asked about quarterbacks. How high can you take a tight end and still feel good about it?
Oh, well, okay.
Last year I was saying take Travis Kelce in the first round.
Yeah, you were. I think if you're drafting in the second round, you can probably still make a hell of a team. If you're getting one of those 2 guys, like if that's your strategy, and it's a great strategy if you're getting one of the top 3 guys on the list. If you're getting anything from Darren Waller up from the guys that we've mentioned in the top 2 rounds, and that's the way you want to go, like you've grabbed an elite running back, which is tough as it is. The tight ends really fall off.
After 4, it drops off a cliff to me.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it's at. So if you're not going to go elite, then I think you need to wait. I think you really need to wait it out.
So for me, my overall rankings, I have Kelce or Andrews, Kelce, Kittle, Waller, all 4 in my top 48. So I would feel good taking – you're not going to get Kelce in the 3rd round. I feel good getting Mark Andrews in the 3rd, even if it's the first pick in the 3rd round. I feel good getting Kittle or Waller in the 4th round. Might be able to deal with it at the back end of the 3rd if there's a huge run on running back. Nobody goes nuts on quarterbacks. I don't want to take one that high. I can see a path that I'm okay there. Where do you go from there? Because for me, the next 6 in average draft position, no way I'm touching them. Any of them.
See, I wouldn't. Anything after that, I'm waiting till the 6th round to touch. Like it's got to be reasonably deep at that point. Because my 5 is Irv Smith.
Wow, I did not think there was a humanly possible way you would be higher on Irv Smith than I am.
Again, the need is there. I don't see how you can avoid him. He's got a ton of upside and targets. And remember that quarterback that I said is going to have a big year because he's on a prove it deal? Yeah, that's his quarterback. So
my 5 is Dalton Schultz.
I didn't have Schultz until a little bit later. I have Smith at 5. Then I go Pitts, and only because there's nothing else in Atlanta with Cordero Patterson. And then I went Hawkinson, Freiermuth, Schultz.
We're very close in agreement here.
Yeah.
I got Schultz at 5. I have Zach Ertz at 6.
Okay.
DeAndre Hopkins missing the first 6 games. There's just no way he's not. Now no Christian Kirk. There's no way he's not going to be a target monster early. Now, is there any way that I get to a path where I draft him? No, probably not.
No.
Because then I go Pat Freiermuth at 7. And yes, I know it's Freiermuth. If you don't watch this show, if you don't watch any of our content, his name is Pat Freiermuth. If you wanted me to call you Pat Freiermuth, maybe you should fucking spell it that way. But there's no O. I don't care. Stupid name. Pat Freiermuth is the tight end that I find myself winding up with the most often, just because I don't want to take a tight end in those meaty clacker rounds. I'm either going to take one of the first 4 rounds and be done with it. I'm going to take one and I'll figure it out on the bye week. Or I'm going to take 2 late, and it's going to be some combination of Pat Freiermuth, Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant, Irv Smith. I love Irv Smith. He's in the top 10 for me. He's not going that high, and he shouldn't be going that high. Just because we have him ranked that high doesn't mean you should take him that high. Because you don't have to.
You don't know this, and that's the point. I have Smith at 5. Doesn't mean that I would take him, in the first round. I'm saying that that's where I'm finding value.
He's currently going as the 15th overall tight end. He's going right behind Hunter Henry, right in front of Noah Fant. And I like him better than both. And to me, it's not even all that close.
Hunter Henry is a guy that you could pair. Say what you want about any offensive struggles. He's going to get the targets.
He's made a balsa wood.
I know.
I mean, he's made of popsicle sticks.
Last year was his first reasonable season. I really like Cole Kmet as a late round. No, that wasn't a stutter. If you don't get one of those early guys and you see a huge run and you want to wait, and you can grab Cole Kmet later, go for it. I don't see I don't know if I would want to go down to the David and Njoku. You think?
And Njoku's going way too high. People are putting way too much money, way too much stock into the fact that they paid him.
What about how do you feel about old Stonehands, Evan Ingram?
Let's see. Things I would rather do than draft Evan Ingram. Have somebody hit me in the ding dong with a baseball bat. Let's see. Paper cut my hands and lay in a tub of Tabasco sauce. Call my ex-wife. I keep doing this. Evan Ingram, for me, he's right around tight end 30.
Yeah.
There's just a billion. Now, Jacksonville's got a billion weapons that I see as the same. Evan Ingram has terrible hands. He can't block. I mean, I don't understand. All right, let me put it this way. I don't understand how somebody would take Evan Ingram ahead of Austin Hooper in Tennessee.
Right.
A system that I've seen tight ends be featured even when they couldn't play a tree in a kid's play. They're just awful. Austin Hooper's not awful. He's not great, but he's not awful. O.J. Howard. I would rather have O.J. Howard than Evan Ingram, and to me, it's not all that close.
Yeah. Again, strategy-wise, I'm Brevin Jordan? I take Brevin Jordan over that.
That's close, but I agree with you. Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith will have 4 good games.
I was going to say, I don't know if I touched on it, Johnny, with a 10-foot pole here. There's the cliff is steep.
Oh, for me, it's I either get a top 4 or I'm going 2 of the guys that we've talked about here. I cannot find a path that I'm taking Dawson Knox. I can't find a path that I'm taking Dallas Goedert. I can't find a path where I'm taking Robert Tonyan.
Yeah.
I know where the rankings say he's going, but he's going to be the most known name in an offense that's quarterbacked by Aaron Rodgers. Tell me why that guy's going to get overdrafted. Mercedes Lewis is on line 1. You remember when Mercedes Lewis wound up in Green Bay and people went, he's going to be fantasy relevant. No. He's going to be a glorified tombstone. He's going to be large and in the way.
Yeah. It falls off so fast. There's like, and there are guys on this list that I like. Adam Trotman, sure.
The Trout Man.
Sure. Like if I end up in that position, then so be it. Like if I end up in the Mo Alley Cox range, I'll take my lumps, because that means that I've probably got a much better wide receiver, running back, and quarterback set up than I do tight end, and I'll play the waiver wire. Someone will do something dumb. This happens every year. Someone will drop Zach Ertz on a bye, or Freiermuth on a bye, or Knox on a bye because Knox had like 2 bad games. It's going to happen. Someone will do it. Dawson Knox is going to get overdrafted.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to get overdrafted. And I'm not sure he's not going to lose a lot of target share to O.J. Howard. Yeah, I'm not saying that that's a definitive. I'm saying if we played this season out 100 times, it happens 30 of them.
Yeah, I'm not big on I like Knox. I ranked him 11. And I just see too much split. I also see some fall off there.
I do too.
Goderte will probably be fine. Dallas Goedert's he's by 10, and the only reason I have him at 10 is because I think that Hurts has a better year, and he's going to be a beneficiary of that. Although different wide receivers in that offense now, so who knows?
Do you have a final thought on tight ends?
If you're not first, you're last.
And if you ain't first, you're last.
If you want to go tight end strategy, draft them early. Don't be like there is, and Jeremy mentioned this earlier. It was Travis Kelce or bust last year in the first round. And if you're going early tight end, just commit to it. Take your tight end in your first 2. It's okay to stretch. It's okay to reach for Kelce, Kittle, Andrews, Waller. And Waller would probably be the last of the I don't know if I could do that. But if you take those guys, you're probably going to be fine. If you don't get those guys, just don't.
So you're going Ricky Bobby philosophy of if you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah.
I'm going Reese Bobby. That's probably high.
You can be second, you can be third, fourth, hell, you can even be fifth.
I don't want to be if I'm fifth, I want to be last.
Yeah.
I'm combining the Reese Bobby theory with the Jeremy Greene theory of I would rather finish dead last than go 9-8.
There are too many options that are going to net you enough points to be relevant, not enough options to make you win your league. You just want points if you're not getting one of those upper guys, and you just need someone to float you. Just get me through the week.
Biggest bust tight end compared to where they're drafted.
Oh, it might be Knox. It might be Pitts.
I think it's Pitts.
It's Pitts.
I've seen Pitts go ahead of Kittle and Waller way too many times.
Before we started this, I did a mock draft. I just computer auto 10-second mock, and Pitts was the first tight end off the board. And
insane. I've seen that too.
Round, it was ugly.
You do realize he has me playing quarterback. But before you hit the button on Kyle Pitts, just realize he has me playing quarterback.
Yeah. No.
Best value tight end, yours, Irv Smith?
Yeah, it's definitely Irv Smith.
Mine, to be contrarian, I will say Pat Freiermuth. Love him with a mediocre quarterback. Really love him if it's Kenny Pickett starting. And people seem to forget they lost James Washington and Juju Smith-Schuster. I could see Chase Claypool taking a tremendous step back this year. Deontay Johnson's fantastic, but I could see Freiermuth being the number 2 option in the passing game. And I have routinely said Najee Harris is going to be higher on my running back ranking than you think. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, Najee's up there. It's been a blast.
It's been fun. I mean, hell, we just sat here and just rambled on for an hour about fantasy football. There's much better. There are much worse ways to spend an evening than rambling on about fantasy football.
It's top 3 things, including shower beers and making pizza whenever you want.
Oh, yeah.
These are things adults can do.
2 grossly underrated things. In the comments of this video, What are some grossly underrated things? Armchair's in for being an adult and you can eat pizza anytime you want to. I'm in for drinking a beer in the shower. Chuck, yours in there in the comments. We'll be back a couple days from now with running backs. That'll be a whole video unto itself. I am the Mullet Man. He is the Canadan. We appreciate you joining us. Make sure to you can find me on the social medias at ESPN Draft Nerd on Twitter, at the Sportsocracy, live weekdays, 3 p.m., right here on the TubeU, the Facebook, and all the other things. Armchair, where can they find you?
Find me on Twitter at Armchair Comment 2, usually asking ridiculous questions like, who is your favorite celebrity golf foursome that you would like to see play? Or you can find my podcast wherever you get your podcasts, including iHeart, Spotify, Apple. Just look it up, Armchair Commentary.
Indeed. We will see you next time. Oh, Canada, mullet out.
Man, got to lay off the peyote.